Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time, but for the first time, I am looking for what Stargate is trying to teach us. You know, those lessons that hold up a mirror to society. Give us hope that things can be better in the future. Tell us how we can be better human beings. What are those sci-fi messages that this amazing show contains within, which I never really thought they did a whole lot of, but turns out they do.
This week, Brent, we're watching Bane. Now, last week when I heard that, I kind of fumbled my way to a prediction on that. And so my guess is this is going to be a Tilk episode. He's going to be feeling guilty for the people that he hurt when he was Jaffa, working through his stuff. But really, this is going to be a continuation of the friendships that have budded between him and Jack, or him and Daniel. Like, they're going to help pull him through this whole thing.
Well, I can promise you that Teal'c is in this episode.
That's good. I would not like, I feel, it's not I was going to ask, is he in all of the episodes? But I'll find out. I feel like episodes without him probably wouldn't be as good.
I believe that is true.
Yeah?
I believe it is true that Christopher Judge is in every episode of SG-1.
That's why this is such a great series.
I cannot say the same thing for every actor.
It'd be interesting to find out. Let's find out a little bit, though, about this episode, Brent. Bane.
Yes, episode 10 of season 2, original air date, September 25th, 1998. Jeff, this is one of those episodes that I say every sci-fi show has one. In fact, MacGyver had one of these episodes, and that's not really even a sci-fi episode. I don't know, is MacGyver a sci-fi show? It is fiction, and there's a lot of science in it. Is it a sci-fi show?
It's a good question. Why don't you hit us down below or on Twitter? We're at Babylon5 first, or Babylon first, at Babylon first.
We should do like Stargate SG first. That's the Twitter handle. Stargate SG first.
First, right? Because it's got the one.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
You're right. People are going to be like, what is Stargate SG-1ST?
You know.
No, just Stargate SG. It's Stargate SG and the word first. No numbers. Anyway, yeah, Jeff, that's really all I got for you on this particular episode.
A little bit of a break between secrets in this one, because that was, or maybe, yeah, a little bit of break, because that was late August. And this one's hitting us in mid-September.
Yeah, usually I pick up on that. Yeah, this is a little bit of a carryover. So with that, Jeff, why don't we go ahead and just jump into this episode, and we'll see what you think about it as you go through it. If you guys are joining us for the very first time, welcome. You guys are amazing. And what happens at this point of the show, Jeff and I are going to go watch this episode right now together. And if you're on Patreon, you're going to watch us watch this episode. If you're on YouTube, you're going to get the reaction video of us reacting to this episode. And if you guys want more information about getting the full uncut version over on Patreon, just go over to patreon.com/Babylon5 first, or check the updated link down below.
If you're listening to the audio podcast, you're about to gate into the future. We're going to catch you on the other side of watching the episode, where I'm going to share my for the first time reactions, and Brent's going to talk about any sci-fi messages that he may or may not have found. Brent, let's do this.
Chevron 7 locked.
All right, Jeff, we have just seen Bane. What you got, man?
I have no idea why they called this episode Bane. What? Hey, so this episode, it's about bugs that reproduce with like DNA. What should we call it? We can call it the fly. Could we call it infection? What about Bane? Yes.
It feels like somebody just misunderstood what that word really meant, and they went with it. And you're like, you keep saying that word, and I do not think that word means what you think it means.
And now that person works for Netflix.
Writing the show descriptions.
Right. Dude, this was a dumb episode. Like, this was dumb.
Thank you.
But it was fun. Like, it was dumb fun. Like this, you call them laundry episodes, right? Where it's like, I'm doing laundry, it's time I'm going to watch it. I'm going to call this like not even a popcorn episode, but like, hey, I just need to like zone out and eat some Doritos or whatever. I'll watch this one, I mean, it was fun. It was expensive to make. They were on location, bunch of new sets. They had the Gould worm going around a whole bunch. They bought water guns. They spent a lot of money on this one. The three things that made this episode work for me. To go with the good stuff first. What made it work? Teal'c out on the streets.
Yeah.
I just want that. I want a whole episode of him just walking around, awkwardly talking to people, and we'll talk about it in a second, about, hey, how'd you get that tattoo on your head, bro? Yeah, that's a huge...
Jeff, I have good news for you.
Okay.
That episode exists.
Oh my God. I can't wait.
That episode exists. I'm not going to... You'll see it when we get there. That episode does exist.
Awesome. The kid, Allie?
Yeah.
What a sad, tragic story. But the actor, like, she was great. For a TV show, like, she was believable. She was fun. She had some snark. Like, it's not often that it's the kid actor that, like, makes an episode work, but she really did.
Mm-hmm.
But the masterpiece in this episode, like, I nailed some pretty big parts of this prediction. As a Teal'c episode, it really built on the friendship, right, between Jack and Teal'c in this. That was pretty great. But in reality, I think this was an O'Neill episode. This was a Jack episode.
Okay.
We got to see him. Like, I feel like for so much of this, like, season and a half now that we've watched, Jack's definitely the dude in charge, but he's very rarely the character up front. He's kind of to the side or adjacent to a lot of the stuff that's going on. Got some snarky comments he'll make. Sometimes he'll move the plot along with, like, hey, here's this, conundrum that we're in, and kind of communicate back and forth to Hammond. But he hasn't, like, been the focal point. And he was not the focal point in this one. But he is the whole reason the threat of the NID, the whole thing with Mayburn coming in and stuff, worked because of him. And just his whole, like, the minute he walks in and sees him there, we got the, for crying out loud, we got one immediately. And it was just better. It just got better as it kept going. He flexes. He goes full military on Mayburn. He's just like, you will this and this and this, flexing on him. It was like, we don't ever see Jack being, an officer, really. He's happens to be commanding the squad, but he's the joker in the back. He went full colonel on Mayburn. And then when he says, General, request permission to beat the crap out of this guy.
Right.
And then looks at him like, please.
I love Mayborn's reaction in that moment. He, like, jumps back like, oh, I'm about to get the crap bitch out of me.
Uh-huh. He's like, I got a feeling Hammond's going to say, okay. Yikes. Outside of that, and one other great quote that I caught was Teal'c on the streets, and he says, remove yourself from this path. It's so great.
Right.
But outside of that, I mean, you said it when we're coming in. We've seen this episode 18,000 times. And frankly, I don't think any property has done it well.
It's never good. It's never a good episode. Yeah.
And I get why they do it. It's easy. It's the story. Hey, there's a bug or a something and it stings you and then stuff. Yeah, sure.
Standard sci-fi plot.
Yeah.
Something is going to come in and transform your DNA. Well, what's it going to be? Well, it's got to be bug venom or snake bite or something. And we're going to save you just in time to transform you back. Like, stuff ensues.
And literally it's just going to be science or medical or a combination magic at the end. Here's this thing that can do this thing. And so if you're a person out there who creates science fiction or fiction for that matter, stop making this episode. Stop.
I've seen it.
All in all, yeah, fun, stupid. If I never watch this again, I'll be fine. If I happen to catch it again, it'll be a good time. Did you catch any sci-fi messages in this one?
Jeff, we said at the beginning, I did, and the beginning of doing this whole series of shows, thinking forward through the series, I don't really think there's going to be that many messages. And then we kind of get into it and it's like, oh, this actually is pretty deep in this one. Well, this one had the whole thing that Star Trek has done several times, which is usually it's a Klingon wanting some ritual death by a friend, because they're not wanting to be dishonored or something of that nature. And that becomes an episode of questioning cultural differences. And do you respect what they have going on, or do we respect life, or this episode didn't really have that. It set it up for it, but it did that thing where it just didn't discuss it at all because it wasn't actually what the episode was about. And it wasn't trying to go down that route. It was just trying to plot.
Yep.
Plot along. That's all it is. We could talk about Jack saying no to killing Teal'c when Teal'c clearly said, please do this. But also, was Teal'c really in his right mind? Did Jack, I mean, and again, this is a little personal to me right now. It's because it's still a little fresh, but did Jack have reason enough to hope for Teal'c to be restored to who he was? And I don't know that Jack really did.
Yeah, there's nothing showing that. I mean, Jack especially because he wasn't down in the lab. So it's just like, hey, we're going to bring you back and try something.
Yeah, like that would be, because even if they did get Teal'c back, what version of Teal'c are they getting back? It becomes a question. And so again, we could go through all of that. The show did nothing with it. The show didn't have any of that. Jeff, I would struggle to give this one even half a chevron. I'm going to say no chevrons.
Yeah, I can't disagree. There's one line that I liked quite a bit, but they went nowhere with it, and it was just me adding into it. But they took Teal'c took his larval Gould out.
Yeah,
and so they had it back at the SGC, and they started to realize they needed this thing to figure out, how to help Teal'c. And then Hammond says, "Never thought I'd be, hoping one of these things survive." While watching the episode, I made the comment, "Hey, isn't it weird that sometimes life is just life?" But they did nothing with that. It would have been cool if there's and maybe this will be a thing that happens, over the series. And that'd be great if it did, because it's a good thing. Like, we've talked about this in other episodes. Like, we just homogenize the Gould and they're evil, period. End of, just that's what it is. We've met Jolinar. We know that things are different, right? So the fact that they're starting to see, they're like, oh, I care about this Gould. And there's, I want this thing to happen. And that's a cool, journey of discovery for the people in the SGC. That discovery didn't happen here. Hammond just made a comment, so I mean that's not even worth.
Because to even be frank, Hammond's hope had nothing to do with the Gould itself. It had everything to do with Teal'c. I just want you to stay alive to save for Teal'c. It's not because I respect you in life. It's just I need you to do this thing. So yeah, I'm gonna give it no chevrons. You could twist my arm to go a half just because it did bring that piece up, but. Here's what I want to know, though, from the folks out there listening on the podcast, or maybe you're watching on YouTube, Patreon. Did you find something that I missed? Because I want to fully there could be stuff out there that I just I just sort of wrote this episode off in my head knowing what it was. And, I'm just sitting here counting down the minutes to where I can get up and go to the bathroom.
Before we get to the ranking, Brent.
Yes.
I brought up a thing. We brought up during the episode. I brought it up a minute ago. I want us to dive in really quick. We learned about how the Jaffa get their forehead tattoo.
The gold one.
The gold. Yes, because there's black ones as well, right?
Because you've seen the black one, which is literally just a tattoo.
Okay.
It's not just drawn on, like in real life, it's just drawn on there, but that's actually supposed to be the tattoo. This is where they go in and they carve it with a knife and pour molten gold into it, and it hurts like a son bitch.
Can you say Khal Drogo and what's his face Targaryen, right? In the first season,
right.
Now that's a little more extreme than pouring it into this nice, intricately carved design, but that hurt.
So I don't know at what point they say it. I'm just going to go ahead and let you know. There is another evolution to this where what they will eventually establish is, and don't watch the early episodes because they don't hold to this mantra, but the people, you only get the gold one when you become a first prime.
Okay.
So if you have gold, that means you are or have been a first prime. Like Braytak would have been a first prime, but retired effectively. Teal'c being a first prime and he goes away. So if you get a gold one, you're first prime. Otherwise, it's just the black drawing tattoo. Right now, I think the general mantra is do you have speaking lines and are we paying you money? Now you get a gold one. Otherwise, you're just an extra and you get a drawn on one to your forehead.
Yeah, because I think back to the Nox and they all had the gold.
Yeah.
In that one. And so, yeah.
Don't judge the early episodes by that rule. So
okay, that's fair. Now it's pretty hardcore. But it makes sense in a I don't know, for lack of a better term, like a military hazing kind of a thing. Hey, you're tough enough to become first prime, but you're going to show it by doing this.
Well, but also, I mean, think about what that means status symbol wise, that you have a gold thing, but also just the, You went through that. You got that. You're a badass. So Jeff, with that, so cool. You know about the head thing now. So it's there.
Yeah.
So where do you rank this episode? Because you get to do the rankings. I do the ratings. You do the ranking. We're creating our 100% completely accurate and definitive list of ranking season 2 of Stargate SG-1. Your top 5 right now, Jeff. Actually, I'm going to go from the bottom because I have a feeling it's going to find itself down there.
Probably a good idea.
Currently, we have 9 episodes in the list, the bottom 5. From the bottom up. So all the way down to the bottom, number 9 is Prisoners. Going upwards from there, there's The Gamekeeper, then Family, then Need, and then finally Message in a Bottle, which is number 5. So you do crack the top 5 on this bottom 5 list. Jeff, where do you place Bane?
This one's not going to take me very long at all. In fact, partway through the episode, I kind of glanced here at the ranking. I'm like, yep, that seems about the right spot. This is going to be our new number 7, right between Need and Family.
Higher than I thought it was going to be.
So, I mean, like I said, I still had a good time watching it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it's your rankings, my friend, not mine. So I still think Gamekeeper's higher than all of that, but that's just Brent.
I still just don't like that episode, man. I do not like it.
It's fair. Even Dwight Schultz could save it for you, huh? All right, Jeff. Well, that's going to do it for Bane. We never have to talk about this episode again. Next week, buckle in, Jeff. Buckle in. We're at the mid-season point. You know what that means?
2-parter.
It is a 2-parter. Getting into sweeps week, my friend. 2-parter. This one is called, and this is a true 2-parter. It's a part 1 and a part 2. The name of this next 2 episodes, not originally aired as one long episode, just so you know. It was a 2-parter. You're going to struggle trying to figure out what this one's about. It is called The Tok'ra, part 1, and The Tok'ra, part 2.
Okay.
Jeff, would you like to venture a guess as to what The Tok'ra, part 1 and 2 are about?
So Tok'ra, that's jal'Zha and like the rebel.
They're the resistance Gould.
I think in part 1, they're going to be, SG-1's going to be out doing the SG-1 thing, and they're going to run into a group of Tok'ra. And that's going to be like the uneasy getting to know you thing, right? And Sam's really going to be point on this thing. Just like, it's going to bring up a bunch of the jal'Zha stuff for her and all that. Just kind of, just like, oh, this is real. There's more of us. And they're going to work to kind of get to know each other. In that process, some of Apophis's dudes are going to show up, and there's going to be some trouble that ensues. And then there'll be some obviously big cliffhanger thing that happens. Part 2 is going to be maybe in part 1, they're having a hard time coming to terms or whatever. I can see Jack very much not believing that they're actually Tok'ra and Sam's like, no, listen to me. And it's going to have a lot of tension. Apophis's dudes are going to attack, leading to part 2 where they're forced to come together. And they're not going to go after Apophis. I think it's too soon to bring Apophis in, but they're going to go hit one of his ships or his strongholds, and they're going to make some attack against Apophis. It'll probably build to other stuff. In fact, I think this is going to be like the tent pole in season 2. We did a bunch of stuff coming up. Here's the big thing, and now we're going to kind of get the arc of, this isn't an arc, show, but just kind of the story that's going to carry us through the second season. So that's my guess.
All right. Well, we'll find out. You went way more specific with that than I actually thought you would. I just wanted you to be like, I think it's going to be about the Tok'ra, and we meet them. That's really where I just thought you were going to say. But you went here's plot details. So
I tend to get specific in these things, which is also partly why I tend to miss them quite a bit.
Well, we'll see what happens right here next time on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe on Patreon. And please don't forget to leave us a rating and review wherever you have the ability to do that. And please be sure to share this podcast with someone who loves Stargate SG-1 or who needs to get into the gate. So with that, folks, until next time, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go. Yes, Jeff.
Listen, I kind of need you to do something for me, and it's kind of a big ask.
Okay, so what's in it for me? What do I get out of it?
Caramel and peanuts?
Oh, for crying out loud.